Thanks first of all to Alan and Sita for the invite to come up here today and have a bit of a conversation with you about realising vision and advancing automation. And that's, if you think about it, some very interesting words when you talk about realising vision. Vision is something that we all have. It's about ambition, it's about the drive forward, and it's also about, I suppose, trying to see the pathway for your business and trying to bring that to a new place. And then to incorporate then in terms of bringing skills into the industry and how do you kind of look forward as to what's next, who's next and where do you need to go. So we have more questions than answers, I think, when we look to the future of where we are in terms of the process. And what we have, identified in our business is that we need a clear direction. And when it needs to involve the government in terms of MMC. Like we're talking about BIM now. We started BIM in 2010. We're 15 years now doing BIM. As a pioneer of the industry in rebar, nobody wanted to know about rebar and BIM until very, very recently. And we really do need the support of government to enable the whole BIM process. But we're also entering an environment where we're talking about expanding our mindset towards AI, and we had it earlier on from Lauren talking about what AI is going to do for industry and where it's going to bring people, So the adoption of it across the industry and the alignment across the industry is very important. And to develop the skills for that then is a whole new conversation in terms of, we need to train for the digital future. We need to get youth engagement in Irish businesses. And there are some very good events taking place. One in particular it comes to mind is that Dream Big programme that the ATM cluster brought this year and last year, where we brought TY students into industry and we introduced them locally to businesses that are actually in their local areas, but they didn't know that they were even there. So it's an amazing thing when you find out that there's 100 kids in the local area. They're all thinking about Google, internet, Facebook and Meta, and they want to go and work in Dublin. And locally, there's a robotic solution next door, and they've just become a robotic technician. And the acknowledgement of that, I suppose, is very important. But anyway, all of these things, what I've seen up here, I suppose, is where we need skilled professionals. Like we need them in detailing, we need them in estimation, we need them in surveying, we need engineers. And across all those disciplines, we have to have an innovative approach. So I suppose what we have done in Midland Steel is we've tried to align our industry goals and our vision with the goals of industry. It's quite important to get the balance right, because 99% of the time, there's always this question in the background around BIM. There's a big question mark hanging over everybody's head. What's the cost? What worth is it? We really don't need that. Why would we do that when we've been doing it this way all our lives? But the basic answer to all of that question is that you're preparing and planning for something that you're trying to alleviate and won't happen on site, instead of going to site and make it happen in a mistake. And if you solve the mistakes outside of that, then you're going to get to a process where you have enormous impact from the BIM process. So innovation and lean support, we've brought that through our process. Workforce development, again, we're going back to skills here. It's a really important part of it. And the skills that are now coming to industry are totally different than they were 10 years ago when we started down the route, And I'll show you in the next slide what we're doing with the labour workforce that's doing the manual operations in our business. Sustainability is becoming everybody's buzzword in the last 18 months. Everybody wants it. How does BIM feed into that? Well, BIM is business information management. It's not a 3D model just to look at a visualization. You actually have all the data that you need within the model if you work it properly. And if you understand what you're putting in there, you can then adapt and govern the AI process around it. And of course, the biggest thing for us as a company, and always has been, is that BIM brought us to a place where we were fully collaborative. You had the engineer, you had the architect, and you had the surveyor, you had the main contractor, and then you had the supply chain. Like all of them in isolated silos, doing their own thing, and all of a sudden, we had a situation then where the BIM process and using the Trimble Connect models were enabling us to be fully communicative with all parties. So now, all of a sudden, we have a situation where actually Aidan and Punches is able to send in a transact inside in the model, and immediately our workshop floor is getting that same message. So we're enabling a fully communicative tool, but we're also able to communicate to a point that it's instant. So the BIM tool there in itself and that collaboration is enormously beneficial to business. What we've done, I suppose, in our business is we've kind of changed the model completely. So what you're seeing here is the world's first robotic welding cell for rebar up to 50 millimeter. 5 years ago, this was not in action. I suppose it was an invention that we've done ourselves. We developed our product ourselves, but primarily we invented it for two reasons. So I'll give you a small little story here. We put an advert in the local paper where we were looking for apprentice welders. We got 3 replies. We got 2 youth individuals that joined us, and they were gone after 6 weeks. Think about that, right? So we have a younger generation now. Well, I call them the digitalized generation because anybody born after 2000 is definitely in the digital world. And we have a situation where manual labor is not something that's really, really attractive to the individuals. But anything on an iPhone is. So I said to the lads in the yard, I says, we had just bought a robot to do automation off of manufacturing I said, listen, let's try instead and put an advert in the paper or in the colleges for robotic technicians. We got 40 replies. 40 replies, and of the 40 of the people that were in that course, none of them knew where they were going for their next job. Right? So the digital world has already moved in terms of their mindset and what they want to do as a career, but us as industry aren't moving fast enough with it. And that's where I think we need to look at skills, the environment of skills, the training of skills, the training on BIM, the surveying training on BIM, and the adoption of it out on the physical environment. So we've brought this to the market. It's now being commercialized as we speak. And what we have now is a solution where we don't have any health and safety issues. The operator is working in an office inside in the corner. The BIM models are being sent to the unit, and the unit is welding. Imagine this was a blind robot when we started. Now it's a scanning, visualized system. So from our point of view, I suppose, realizing the vision here was take it from the manual effort, bring it to an automation effort, but also improve the health and safety. And this video here encapsulates what we do as a company. On the right-hand side is the traditional world. And there was a very, very famous man, and a lot of you here in this room would know him, God rest his soul, Jerry McCaughey. He used to come up on stage and he'd say one thing to everybody at the end of his presentation. On the right-hand side, he says, if you want to buy a car after Christmas, will you go into the workshop and will you get all the boxes of the car delivered into your driveway and you put them together with an Allen key box? Or do you want to go in and get a key and drive out that door with that brand new car? The right-hand side is the traditional world. Manual, interventive, lots of problems, lots of inaccuracy. On the left-hand side is Faster Fix, the solution that we've developed. We're now internationalizing with it. And you can see that 7 ton of steel on the left-hand side and the same on the right-hand side, and the basic dynamics of what's happening. 5 people on the left, 2 people on the right, and in 15 minutes, we fix 7 tons of steel. So where am I going to get the skills for that? I now have to look at changing up, not steel fixers. The automation is making the product. The welders are making the units. But here and then we have now placers who can be adapted to other areas of industry as well. So we're actually making it that easy now to place steel and not have to read rebar drawings, that same individual could be utilized placing precast. So there's an adaptation of trade that you can bring to the whole environment of construction going forward. So what we've done, I suppose, in terms of realizing our vision, we've realized it with Faster Fix. And I suppose, you know, what we've done is really driven forward automation and efficiency in the rebar industry. We're definitely disruptors. There's no question about that. We're known worldwide as a disruptive company in the way we do things. And we're very, very proud of that, I have to say. Very proud of it. Smarter and safer solutions, well, it makes total sense. You know, the safer the environment, the faster it's going to be, the better it's going to be, and the more productive it's going to be. Integration with digital workflows. We're the first company in the world to be able to achieve this in rebar. Being able to take a BIM model and direct the reference points and the coordinates from that model to a jig and then take that panel of an assembly of each individual bar of steel. Like the engineers in the audience here will understand what I'm talking about here. Each individual bar of steel is taken, placed in that location, millimetre accuracy, made in a jig, millimetre accuracy, and now that's going to site with superb quality and a tack weld replacing the tie, mean the rigidity of the slab is far better than it was previously. So our industry goals are being achieved, and lots of other people as well are reaching productivity levels that they never reached before. People talk about AI and they say, oh sure, like AI is going to do away with a load of jobs. AI will never replace people. We have to be very, very, very honest with ourselves here. It's a data-driven process. If the data isn't there and somebody to regulate the data, then clearly there is not going to be an opportunity for it to work. And Lauren referenced that this morning as well. So in our business, we haven't embraced it fully because we're trying to work out ourselves where that foundation is that she referenced this morning. Where is the actual foundation of where we need to be? So I think AI is going to have an enormous impact on mundane tasks and remove, I suppose, the mundane tasks that we do on a day-to-day basis, making our people far more efficient. So vision is realising futures, and I suppose what we're trying to do is drive that digital future. And as a company, somebody said recently, you actually need to be able to see around corners. Well, that's never an easy job to do, but you really do need to be able to see around corners because there's so much happening geopolitically, there's so much happening economically, the industry is moving so fast, the AI revolution is taking place. We have enormous opportunities and we should embrace them opportunities and try and build our foundations and then drive forward. All of what you see here in this slide deck is the innovative world of where we're in, and we need to build our skill set around all of that. So that's me for now. Thanks very much for taking the time, and up next.